July 24th, 1943, 22:55 hours, 18,000 feet above the North Sea. The night is moonless, absolute. A black ceiling presses down on the cold, rippling water below, broken only by faint starlight and the dull red glow of instrument panels inside the aircraft. 4 Merlin engines beat in uneven rhythm, their vibrations crawling through aluminum frames and into bone. Inside the cockpit of an Avro Lancaster, Flight Lieutenant John Jack Whitcomb, age 26, grips the control column with gloved hands, stiff from cold and fear. He is from Nottingham, a former bank clerk. He has been flying operational sorties for 6 months, long enough to know the smell of fear, long enough to know how few crews finish their tours. The aircraft shudders slightly as turbulence ripples through the bomber stream. Ahead of him, nothing is visible. No navigation lights, no horizon, just darkness. Below him, somewhere beyond the North Sea, lies Germany. And tonight, darkness itself has been weaponized. Behind Whitcomb, in the narrow fuselage, the crew sits strapped into their stations, navigator hunched over glowing maps and dials, bomb aimer lying prone beneath the nose, wireless operator listening to a chorus of static and coded pulses, gunners scanning black voids where fighters might already be climbing. But this Lancaster is not alone. Far ahead, invisible and unchallenged, fly the aircraft the Germans laughed at. The Pathfinders. 6 months earlier, deep inside the reinforced concrete walls of Luftwaffe command centers, German officers had dismissed the concept with open contempt. British night bombing, they believed, was crude and inaccurate. Bomber streams wandered blindly across cities, dropping explosives miles from their targets. Darkness protected Germany. Clouds protected Germany. Flak and fighters would do the rest. Radar-guided bombers, target marking at night, precision in blackout conditions. Fantasy. British desperation. They laughed, but they did not understand what was coming. Up front, Whitcomb's navigator, Flying Officer Peter Lang, age 24 from Cambridge, adjusts the dials of a device the Germans have never fully grasped. H2S radar. A glowing cathode ray tube blooms green in the darkness, painting ghostly outlines of coastlines, rivers, and urban masses below. Lang swallows hard. Sweat beads beneath his oxygen mask despite the cold. Radar contact, he says quietly. Elbe estuary confirmed. They are on course. Ahead of the bomber stream, the Pathfinders are already working. De Havilland mosquitoes, fast, wooden, nearly invisible to radar, slice through the night at over 30 miles per hour. They fly higher, faster, alone. Their crews carry no bombs meant to destroy cities. They carry something more dangerous. Markers, incendiary target indicators, color-coded flames designed to turn entire urban centers into aiming points. Inside one mosquito, Squadron Leader Don Bennett, architect of the Pathfinder Force, watches his radar and stopwatch with obsessive precision. He knows this mission will decide the future of Bomber Command. Accuracy or irrelevance, success or annihilation. Below him, Hamburg sleeps. For now. German early warning stations along the coast begin to light up. Radar screens bloom with contacts. Hundreds, then thousands. The operators stare. This is not a scattered raid. This is a stream, a compressed, timed flow of aircraft deliberately funneled through narrow corridors in the sky. British planners have calculated flak reload times, fighter climb rates, and radar saturation limits. The defenses choke. Flak batteries open fire blindly, shells bursting in black blossoms far behind the leading aircraft. Searchlights stab upward, intersecting empty sky. Night fighters scramble too late, engines screaming as they claw for altitude through turbulence and confusion. Above it all, the Pathfinders slip through. Bennett's Mosquito rolls gently left. The city's shape is unmistakable now, a dark mass beside a ribbon of water. "Stand by," he says. A hatch opens. A single canister drops. Seconds later, a green flame erupts on the ground below. Then another, and another. The markers burn with unnatural brightness, cutting through haze and smoke, visible from 20,000 feet. Hamburg has been outlined in fire. Whitcomb sees it. A faint glow at first. Then clarity. A target where there should be none. His bomb aimer, Sergeant Alan Pierce, age 22 from Leeds, exhales sharply. "Markers confirmed. God help them." The Lancaster begins its bombing run. Autopilot engaged. Speed steady. Altitude fixed. The aircraft flies straight and level, the most dangerous thing a bomber can do. Flak erupts now with frightening accuracy. Black bursts tear holes through the sky, rocking the bomber with concussive force. Shrapnel rattles against fuselage skin like thrown gravel. "Hold her steady," Pierce mutters. "Hold, hold." Whitcomb's jaw tightens. Every instinct screams to maneuver, to evade. But he holds the line. Below, Hamburg ignites. High explosives rupture roofs and water mains. Incendiaries follow, cascading into streets and attics. Fires spread laterally, then vertically. Oxygen feeds the flames. Heat builds. Winds begin to form, unnatural, violent. A firestorm is born. The night sky turns red. Smoke climbs to meet the bombers, buffeting them with thermal turbulence. The Lancaster shudders violently. Engine temperatures spike. The smell of burning oil seeps into the cockpit. "Bombs away," Pierce shouts. The aircraft leaps upward, suddenly lighter by several tons. Whitcomb banks hard, engines roaring as Flak detonates where they had been seconds earlier. Behind them, the city burns unchecked. From above, it looks almost beautiful. From below, it is the end of the world. And far away, in German command centers, the laughter has stopped. The firestorm grows, faster than anyone expects. At street level in Hamburg, the air itself begins to move. Winds howl inward at hurricane force, dragging oxygen toward the heart of the inferno. Asphalt softens. Tram lines twist. Roof tiles lift and shatter. People stumble as the ground-level pressure drops, lungs burning as breathable air is ripped away. Above it all, the bomber stream keeps coming. Whitcomb's Lancaster fights violent updrafts now, columns of hot air punching the aircraft from below like invisible fists. The altimeter needle wobbles. The control column trembles under his grip. "Christ, she's bucking," Whitcomb mutters. Navigator Lang is rigid over his radar scope. "Thermal turbulence. We're right over the center." That is exactly where the Pathfinders intended them to be. More mosquitoes streak overhead, dropping fresh markers. Red for primary targets, green for confirmation, yellow to correct drift. When smoke obscures one cluster, another team remarks the aiming point minutes later. This is not chance. This is choreography. On the ground, German civil defense leaders are helpless. Fire crews cannot reach burning districts. Hoses melt. Engines stall. Streets collapse under debris. In some neighborhoods, the firestorm is so intense It pulls people off their feet, dragging them toward walls of flame. Inside Luftwaffe night fighter control rooms, voices rise in panic. Radar plots smear together. There are too many targets, too close together, moving too predictably. The British have discovered the truth. Accuracy is not about individual bombs. It is about mass, timing, and guidance. And guidance is what the Pathfinders provide. Over the city, a Bf-110 night fighter finally claws its way into position. Oberleutnant Karl-Heinz Müller, veteran of 26 night victories, strains forward in his cockpit, eyes flicking between instruments and the faint glow below. He has hunted bombers for 3 years. Tonight feels different. His onboard radar flickers. Contacts overlap. Friend and foe blur together. The sky is crowded in a way it has never been before. There, 12 o'clock low, his radar operator snaps. Müller dives. Tracer fire slashes upward as he opens fire on a Lancaster straggling slightly outside the main stream. Cannon shells tear into its wing. The bomber lurches, engines coughing smoke. But Müller has seconds at most. Flak bursts blossom around him. German flak, firing blindly into the same airspace. Searchlights flare suddenly, intersecting his flight path. The night fighter becomes visible, silhouetted against burning clouds. He curses and breaks away, narrowly avoiding collision with another bomber, passing less than 100 meters away. This is chaos. Designed chaos. Back in Whitcomb's Lancaster, the mid-upper gunner shouts into his intercom, "Fighter past starboard! No shot!" The rear gunner swivels desperately, scanning smoke-filled darkness. "Nothing! I can't see a thing." The bomber stream compresses further as aircraft tighten formation instinctively, drawn toward the burning markers like moths. The Germans once mocked this behavior. Now they realize its purpose. Concentration overwhelms defenses. Every flak gun fires, but reload cycles lag behind the constant flow. Every night fighter attacks, but fuel drains rapidly as targets never end. The British are trading individual vulnerability for collective invincibility. Whitcomb glances at his fuel gauges. Still enough to get home, if they survive the return leg. Below them, entire districts of Hamburg vanish into flame. Warehouses explode. Oil tanks rupture, sending fireballs hundreds of feet into the air. The Elbe reflects the inferno, turning black water into molten red. Bomb aimer. Pierce watches in silence. He thinks of his parents' terrace house in Leeds, of narrow streets, of neighbors. He forces the thought away. This is war, and this is the mission. Hours later, the bomber stream begins to thin. Aircraft peel away westward, one by one, slipping back into darkness. The Pathfinders remain until the last possible moment, remarking targets, ensuring the dying fire does not drift beyond intended zones. Only when the city is fully consumed do they withdraw. Whitcomb's Lancaster limps back across the North Sea at dawn, streaked with soot, one engine running hotter than it should. The crew is exhausted, dehydrated, hollow-eyed. When they land, ground crews stare at the aircraft in stunned silence. They have never seen results like this. In the following days, reconnaissance photographs arrive. Hamburg is unrecognizable. Over 40,000 dead. Entire industrial sectors erased. Morale shattered. Production crippled. German commanders study the images in silence. This was not random bombing. This was guided annihilation. The realization hits hard and late. The British have solved night bombing. Darkness no longer protects the Reich. It betrays it. And the laughter once loud, once confident, dies completely. Because if Hamburg can burn like this, so can Cologne, so can Berlin. May 30th, 1942, 23:40 hours. Western Germany. The Rhine curves through the darkness like a black blade, barely visible beneath thin cloud. Cologne lies ahead, ancient, dense, industrial, confident. Its cathedral towers are swallowed by night, its streets blacked out, its people convinced that distance and darkness still offer protection. They are wrong. High above the city, the first Pathfinder Mosquito levels out at 20,000 feet. Its engines hum smoothly, almost politely, as if nothing extraordinary is about to happen. Inside the cockpit, Flight Lieutenant Arthur Tommy Lewis, age 27 from Cardiff, checks his stopwatch. Seconds matter now. Everything depends on timing. Lewis is not carrying a bomb meant to destroy buildings. He is carrying precision in a canister. Below him, Cologne's Flak crews wait nervously. They have been told the British have improved their navigation. They have not been told how far. Lewis flips the release switch. The marker falls. A bright green flame blooms near the city center, too close to the cathedral for comfort. Seconds later, a second Mosquito corrects the aim, laying down a red marker slightly upriver. The signal is unmistakable. The city has been selected. Dozens of miles behind, the main bomber stream adjusts course almost instinctively. Navigators make minute corrections. Pilots tighten spacing. What had once been a wandering armada becomes a guided spear. Inside another Lancaster, Pilot Officer Edward Collins, 23 from Manchester, feels the tension rise as the glow appears on the horizon. "There it is," his navigator whispers. "They've marked it clean." Collins nods. His mouth is dry. He has flown raids where bombs fell into fields, rivers, empty suburbs. Tonight will not be like that. The stream enters the Flak corridor. Shells rise in disciplined patterns at first, then erratically as gun crews struggle to adjust lead angles against aircraft moving faster and closer together than ever before. Explosions rock the bombers, metal screaming as fragments punch holes through fuselages. But the stream does not break. It flows. On the ground, Cologne's air defenses are overwhelmed within minutes. Communication lines jam. Radar operators shout conflicting instructions. Searchlights illuminate nothing but smoke and cloud. Night fighters scramble, engines howling as they climb into a sky already saturated with bombers. Pilots see targets everywhere, and none clearly. This is the Pathfinder's true victory. They have turned German strength into weakness. The bombers arrive directly over the markers. Bombs fall not in scatter, but in layers. High explosives first, cracking open buildings and water mains. Then incendiaries, thousands of them, dropping into exposed interiors. Fires multiply, merge, feed each other. The Rhine reflects the burning city, flames flickering across the water like signals to the sky. Back in the air, Collins fights to hold his Lancaster steady as turbulence from rising heat batters the aircraft. "Steady, steady," the bomb aimer murmurs. Flak bursts directly ahead. The bomber flies through a cloud of smoke and debris. The cockpit fills briefly with sparks as shrapnel grazes the fuselage. The aircraft shudders, but holds. "Bombs away!" The release is violent, the Lancaster leaping upward as its load vanishes. Collins banks hard, engines roaring, diving slightly to escape the Flak envelope. Below them, Cologne burns. Entire blocks are aflame within minutes. Roofs collapse inward. Fire crews retreat, helpless. Civilians flee toward the river, only to find bridges choked with debris and bodies. By dawn, over 2,500 buildings are destroyed. Industrial output halts. Communications collapse. And German leadership finally understands. This is not a lucky raid. This is a system. In the weeks that follow, Luftwaffe analysts dissect the disaster. Reports circulate through high command. British bomb accuracy has increased dramatically. Target marking is precise. Bombing is concentrated. Losses are unsustainable. The name Pathfinder Force appears in documents for the first time. It is underlined. Night fighters are redeployed. Flak belts are thickened. New countermeasures are rushed into development, but they are already behind, because accuracy has changed the equation. One marker leads hundreds of aircraft. One fire leads 1,000 bombs. And one night can erase a city. From this moment forward, every blackout in Germany carries the same fear, not of bombers, but of the first flame. By late 1943, German command rooms no longer echoed with jokes about British incompetence. They echoed with silence. Maps of the Reich hang on concrete walls, pockmarked with pins and grease pencil circles. Hamburg, Cologne, Essen, Dusseldorf. Each name carries weight now, measured in burned square miles, lost factories, broken morale. Every pin marks a night the darkness failed. At Luftwaffe headquarters, senior officers argue in low, exhausted voices. Night fighter claims are up. Flak expenditure has tripled. And yet the cities keep burning. The common thread is no longer questioned. The Pathfinders always arrive first. Back in England, at RAF Whiten and other dispersed Pathfinder bases, the atmosphere is different. No celebration, no triumphalism, just preparation. Crews study photographs of cities they will never see in daylight. Navigators memorize river bends, rail yards, street grids. Bomb aimers rehearse release timings down to the second. They know what happens if they are late. They know what happens if they miss. Inside the briefing room, Group Captain Don Bennett stands before a map of Germany. He speaks quietly, precisely. Your job is not to destroy the city, he tells them. Your job is to show the others where to destroy it. He does not raise his voice. He does not need to. On one mission over the Ruhr, a Pathfinder Lancaster, slower and more vulnerable than the Mosquito, takes heavy flak as it descends to visually mark through cloud gaps. Pilot Squadron Leader Michael Harrington, 31, from Kent, feels the aircraft shudder violently as shrapnel tears into the wing. Engine number 3 sputters. Smoke fills the cockpit. "Stay on it," Harrington says through clenched teeth. "We're not done." Navigator shouts corrections. The bomb aimer peers through swirling cloud, searching for a break. There, rail yards. Harrington holds the aircraft steady far longer than doctrine allows. Flak detonates close enough to hammer his chest through the harness. Finally, the marker drops. A perfect burn. Dead center. Seconds later, Harrington orders a turn away. The Lancaster limps out, barely airborne, losing altitude over hostile territory. But the bomber Stream sees the flame, and the Ruhr burns that night. German countermeasures multiply. Fake markers are dropped. Fire brigades attempt to smother Pathfinder flares. Night fighters loiter near known marker altitudes. It slows the damage. It does not stop it. Pathfinders adapt faster. New colors, new sequences, multiple aiming points, continuous remarking when smoke drifts. Darkness is no longer a shield. It is a canvas. Months later, long after the fires have cooled, Whitcomb sits in a Nissen hut, nursing a mug of bitter tea. His tour is almost over. He has seen cities vanish from the sky. He has seen aircraft fail to return. He does not speak of it. None of them do. They simply fly when ordered. Because the war has learned a brutal truth. Accuracy kills more effectively than numbers. The Luftwaffe once laughed at radar screens glowing in British cockpits. Now, those same screens guide destruction with merciless precision. And when the Pathfinders light the first flame, an entire city knows what follows. The night has chosen its side.